Hi, I'm Kathy Zalewski with Realty One Group Peak in Bozeman, Montana. I am a realtor.
And I'm Kaila Henry, also a realtor at Realty One Group Peak in Bozeman, Montana.
That's the hardest part for
It's
us
so
every
hard.
time. I don't know why. We're here today with Jared Zundel.
Yes.
Zundel.
Zundel.
Zundel. With he's an appraiser here in what do you cover, counties or your statewide?
Counties.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is your licensure for the state?
Yes.
Okay.
So same as realtors, we're licensed in the state of Montana.
Right, but we have areas that we focus in.
Very much. Yeah.
So the reason that we brought Jared in today was just appraisal is usually stressful for both the buyer, the seller, and as an agent, sometimes it's stressful for me. So we just wanted to kind of allow you to be introduced to Jared and what he does, what his certifications are, how he comes up with a value for a home, and why you shouldn't necessarily be worried about an appraiser. So, Jared, let's start with how you got started in appraisal.
Okay. Hi everyone.
Perfect.
27 years ago now. Oh my goodness.
Oh God, time does that,
Dude,
doesn't it?
I'm old. I'm old. Anyway, back then it was the good old days here in Bozeman. My appraisal license number is 911, which means I am 911th appraiser ever in Montana.
Wow.
See?
Yeah.
I don't know what realtors' numbers are.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm like
I'm
109.
six something.
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
fishing guides are around 14,000 right now. I think they're that
Oh my
number.
God.
So, anyway, back in the day, I met a gentleman by the name of Mike Sitters, and they had Sitters Appraisals here in Bozeman in the Gallatin Valley, and I called him to try to get on as an apprentice, and he didn't need anybody at that point, and I sent him gingerbread houses every month for a year and a half, and he put me on
Wow. Why gingerbread houses?
because I thought it was kind of funny and a pun talking about houses and the gingerbread thing.
Oh,
Yeah.
appraisals,
Okay.
yes.
It was emails and a gingerbread house every month for a year and a half, and he took me on.
Cool.
So once I got on with that, a gentleman by the name of Billy Whitehurst said he would be my mentor, and that goes for about a year and a half, and that's where I get my hours, and I think it's like 20 or 2,000 or 2,500. I don't really remember now. And that's where you train, kind of like a plumber and electrician, under that mentor, and then you get licensure.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's licensed through the state, as you mentioned. And do you have annual renewal stuff that needs to come up?
Yep, just like anything else. It's the same as a hairstylist, same as an electrician, same as a realtor.
Mm-hmm.
You do your continuing ed. You have to pay your fees.
Yeah.
Do your tests every year. You have to do that stuff. So.
Okay.
Cool.
And so basically 2 years, year and a half of apprenticeship.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have annual certifications. Now, different loans require different certifications. Is that if you're doing an appraisal for, say, a VA loan or a FHA loan or a USDA loan?
Right, and let me back up. And you need a 4-year degree.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Which I had my undergrad at MSU.
Oh, okay, great.
And nothing related to real estate.
Go Cats.
Go Cats.
Okay.
So then you get your licensure, and like anything else, again, in accounting, we'll say you can be a CPA or CMA or C whatever. Same with appraisals. So you can do VA, FHA, those are government loans. You can be a commercial appraiser, and that's just a different amount of hours and schooling.
Okay.
That's around 5,000 or 6,000 hours, I believe. And then there's certain levels. There's a licensed appraiser, and you're able to do $250,000 value or less you can value.
Oh.
Which now isn't really the case.
That's
in
not
our
even
area.
relevant.
It was back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or you can be a certified residential, which is me,
Okay.
and I can do any single family home. Doesn't matter the value. But I am not able to do commercial though.
Okay. What about like ranches and stuff like that?
That falls under commercial
Oh,
because
okay.
then you have ag and you have income producing aspects.
Even like hobby ranches, like is there an acreage limit to that? Like I'm thinking some properties are on maybe 30
Appraisers
acres.
don't really consider hobby ranch a ranch.
Okay.
Okay.
We just say, is it a ranch or is it not a ranch?
Got it.
Okay.
And the limit on that or cutoff is kind of subjective. I mean, I've done properties up to 250 acres for VA, but the land itself couldn't produce income.
Okay.
So then highest and best use was single family home.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Jinx.
Oh, wow. That was weird. We've done that like 4 times already. Okay, so different certifications. and you have like a slew of those.
Not a slew. I have like 4.
Okay. So I
I
guess
probably should have more, but
no.
yeah.
I mean,
keeps you busy. I mean,
It gets to a point where, I've been in this game so long that if you don't know me and know what I can do, I don't need more service.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Okay, so we had talked about kind of before we started the video that what probably makes people curious is why does Jared's opinion matter? And like, how do you maintain the ability to make your opinion matter? That sounds kind of weird, but he's the one that would get to say, yes, your house is worth XYZ. And so sometimes you might say, well, why does he get that right to say that? Why can't you tell them
Yeah.
what it's worth?
So I'll start real basic, and this might be too basic. Just push me if it's not.
Please.
But a lot of people don't know why you need an appraisal. They even ask me. I'll come to their home and they go, "We don't know why you're even here." It's the same reason if you go. Most people own a car.
Right.
So if you go to the bank and you want to buy or borrow money for a car, they're going to look at Kelley Blue Book or NADA. I am Kelley Blue Book. Simple as that. So there is no Kelley Blue Book to value properties at this time. There might be in the future with AI. But to value these complex properties, especially in Montana, where you have creek fronts and barns and all these different amenities hooking into these properties and the quality levels, so they call me. So I come in. And all these little credentials, I guess, and experience I have, the bank trusts me, if you will, to say, this is the worth of the home and this is why.
Okay, curious. So the bank trusts you, but it's not necessarily the bank because they can't necessarily pick you, right? As a result of legislature in
Dodd-Frank. Yeah.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
That they can't necessarily pick you. So, and does the underwriter sometimes look at your work and say, "Hey, what about this?" or "Hey, what about that?"
Right. So the process would be the first part. Do they trust me? I guess that's a good point. I have the credentials, and other appraisers have them, and so we would get on the list for said lender. So let's just take Stockman Bank, one of our great banks here in this area. And Stockman says, "All right, Jared, we are going to have you on our list to appraise, and along with A, B, C, D, other appraisers, and basically they pick them out of a random hat for a job."
That's what I've heard. It just goes into a pool.
Which it didn't used to be that way prior Obama. Obama's whole era is when the real estate crash happened. You got blamed. We got blamed. Lenders got blamed.
But
so
it was a lot different.
It was different.
It was a lot different, but
so they would call me back then and go, "Jared, will you go appraise Kathy's house?" And I'd be like, "Yeah, sure, sounds good."
What's the purchase price?
I didn't know. I don't know.
No, the lender might.
Oh, the lender.
Back in the day, the lender might have said, "Hey, the purchase price is $425."
Right.
Jared, you feel good about that? It was a much different world
back then.
Yes.
But then President Obama said we're not going to do that anymore and made an act called the Dodd-Frank Act, and that put a cap on all of us for confidentiality and unbiased. So now my name gets drawn out of a hat.
Right. And technically the lender doesn't choose Jared. Jared chooses to go on. If there's 14 addresses in the pot at that time, you can pick which addresses you want to go appraise.
Not really. The lender will will engage me and say, "Jared, we have property ABC. Would you like to go do it?" And I'll say yes or no.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
Okay. So that's where the trust comes in. The lender has worked with you dozens, hundreds of times on different types of property.
Yeah.
What you mentioned earlier was that, hey, there are a lot of very unique properties here in Montana. This is not, even Bozeman has relatively few track housing developments. So when you are set out on an appraisal, what are the first most important things to be able to find comparable properties?
Okay. So, and again, the only reason I'm out there is because someone needs money.
Right.
That's really important. Because they need to borrow money was the whole reason I'm out there. If they weren't borrowing money, I wouldn't need to be there at all.
Right.
Yeah.
So if I show up at a property, what do I look for? I look at size, style, quality level, location, kind of the overall package.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's the most important criteria, again, when you're trying to pull because you are going to look at comparable sold properties to help you value, correct?
Mhm.
Okay. So is it location? Would you compare, you mentioned you were in Billings this morning, would you compare a Billings property to a property in Bozeman?
Sure. No, yeah. So you're right. Location is one of the primary driving factors of value, especially in all markets.
Right.
Location.
Right. Real estate.
Yeah.
Okay.
So location is everything, and what I mean by that too is there's two different things on appraisers' minds, I guess, when we look at this. Cost does not equal value.
Right.
It's a huge thing.
Right.
A lot of agents don't grasp that. A lot of people
Mhm.
don't grasp that. What I mean is this all Gallatin Valley and
Yeah.
Yeah.
surrounding. Okay, so if we take a 7,000 square foot home, which is a really big home,
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
and let's say we put it in Willow Creek, Montana,
Right.
which is right outside of Three Forks.
Right.
Okay, and it costs us. We all know what it costs. Well, we know what it costs to build homes right now. Let's just say it's an average of 350 a foot.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
For, I would say, basic home.
For a basic home.
You know, and 7,000.
And so we're going to take 7,000 square feet. We're going to times that by $300, right?
Yep.
That's 2.1 million. 2.1 million. Is it worth 2.1 million if it sits in Willow Creek?
No.
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 The cost is there, but the location is not.
Okay. That's great.
Yeah.
That's great information. Okay. So let's drill it down a little bit more. Let's say somebody, Bozeman, okay, is North Bozeman certainly okay? And sorry, but homes up Bridger Canyon
Okay.
generally are worth more than homes in Gallatin, like Gallatin Gateway.
That's a little tight. We'll go a different one. How about we'll go homes in Bridger Canyon are typically worth more than homes north of Maine, west of 19th.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So okay.
Because Gateway is a pretty comparable area.
Okay.
It's
Really?
competitive.
Okay. That's kind of interesting to me because Bridger Canyon seems more desirable than Gallatin Gateway, and like.
It's hard. I think, honestly, I feel like Gallatin Gateway has kind of risen because you are getting some really lovely homes being built out there, number one, and same style of kind of mountainous living. Yes, location's really different, but I think that proximity to Big Sky there is pretty
interesting.
huge.
Okay, so let's drill down a little bit more then. Let's say, because I have an issue. Let's say, and while you're here, we'll make it a test case.
Good.
This is
Good.
Okay.
This is for a new listing, Kathy.
like
That's
it.
coming on.
So for example, in the city of Bozeman, right, on either side of the 100-acre park, Gallatin County Regional Park, on one side you have
Flanders Mill,
and on the other side you have the crossing.
Okay.
Homes built within the same area, age of home I'm sure matters too, right? Because a home built in the 70s is going to appraise differently than a home built in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, but those are same era-ish. I think different aesthetically, but it is curious to me, and do you agree, if homes in the crossing are worth less than homes in Flanders Mill?
Ooh, that's tough.
Seriously.
very niche, small market.
I'm going to say this. I'm not that good.
Oh,
And nor is anyone else.
well, right. So,
Yeah.
We're not that good.
So would you say the similar homes, though, let's say different build styles? I would say sometimes you can find more high-end homes. And high-end, I'm going to say it's not even truly a
Nicer
high-end home.
finishes.
Nicer finishes, more, mid to higher, upper range.
I think
standard.
trendier might also be the.
Yeah.
Right. So on your question, Kathy, if we have a home in the crossings and one in
Flanders Mill.
I would almost probably, first of all, I'd have to get land value out of that, and I would. So I would get that land value out, and I would extract it.
Okay, so bigger lot in the crossing, Flanders Mill.
But let's just say both lots were, I'm just going to make up a number, 100 grand.
Okay.
Let's just say.
Okay.
Well, now that I know our location is similar,
Right.
it's the same
Mm-hmm.
in the market. If the value's the same, then the market-driven location is pretty much the same.
Okay, so then do you start going down like quality of finishes?
Then I go to quality of home
Okay.
and size of home.
Yeah.
Okay.
So so let's just say my land value's the same. So now I've gotten rid of that location, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even worried about it.
Yeah, because it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Now I have Kathy's home over here that sold for 500 grand, and I have Kayla's over here that sold for 500 grand. The finishes are pretty much the same.
Right.
It's the same property.
It's the same.
I can use that as a comp. It's a great comp.
Okay.
Yeah.
So all of this to kind of get back to the buyer and seller side. So first of all, as agents, we try to mimic what Jared does, but without 2,000 hours of apprenticeship. So we're a little wild out there, but we try to mimic that, because ultimately it's likely that home and the value is going to have to stand up to an appraisal.
Well, and still generally in our market, 70% of homes are closing with a loan.
Yes.
We're about a 30% cash market. So that's for, I'm going to say Gallatin County, I think last time I pulled that.
Right.
Obviously, that trend could vary differently in Madison County with Big Sky and in those different areas. But 70%, that's still over majority of homes being sold with.
So the lender is going to require somebody, Jared or somebody else, to appraise the property. And that is, I guess, that is why we as agents try to come up with using the same ideas: location, quality of construction, adding in the lot size. So you say location, lot first.
Yes, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then is it square footage before age?
Right. Then I would probably go. So at first, I'm going to look at location, and let's say I have that established. It's in Harvest Creek.
Right.
And then I'm going to look at square footage of home. This will tell me, is it underbuilt? Is it overbuilt? Is it marketable?
Mm-hmm.
For example, if majority of Harvest Creek is 2,000 square feet,
right,
and my home I'm appraising is 4,000, then most likely it's overbuilt. And if
So-
it's 500 square feet, it's underbuilt.
So that means if it's 4,000 square feet, then we're kind of back to that scenario that you mentioned in Willow Creek. Like, yeah, it might cost this much,
Exactly.
but it's not worth that much.
You're not getting that value because it's overbuilt.
So how close do you try and get location wise? Because there could be a home in Harvest Creek that is within a mile of, say, what is that I had where that listing was, that other listing, where it was more custom 90s-ish homes, Rustic Manor, Park Manor, something. Anyway, nearby, but a different build situation. How do you take that into consideration, or do you try and stay within the same neighborhood?
Both. So what I'll do is, if I look, when I get up to a property and I'm searching for my comparables, I'll get on MLS and I'll start at about a quarter mile from that property, my data.
Okay.
And then I'll expand to a half mile, 3/4 mile. If I'm in city limits, I'm usually okay there, maybe a mile and a half.
Okay.
If I'm in Bridger Canyon, these are custom homes,
Right.
most likely, I could be up to 20 miles.
Right.
Cool.
So I'll compile all this data, and then I'll look at it, and I'll choose my best comps based on similarities in site size, quality, size of home, date of sale. Date of sale is really big.
Right. How long do you look back?
I go back, and this is subjective. Appraisers do it differently.
Okay.
I don't go usually exceed 12 months. However, on custom homes, I may put in 6 comps, and may go back 2 years.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I feel like that's how we kind of try and price homes too, is of course we're going to look for the immediate time frame, but sometimes because of the uniqueness of the property, you are forced to expand your location radius, your time frame, and even sometimes getting into those subdivisions that maybe aren't exactly comparable, but you're kind of forced to say, well, if this one over here did this,
Sure.
this one over here might be able to do something like this for these reasons.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. And my job, I mean, basically, a lot of people think that we have to go A, B, C, D, E
Right.
on our forms, and we're kind of like a weird accounting,
Yeah,
real estate
there is
bean counter type thing. We're not that. We have to tell a story.
Okay.
All I'm doing is telling a story, and I'm not selling the story. I'm giving this story and reporting it to the lender to see if they want a loan on it. So if I want to go back 5 years, I will. If I want to go back 6 months, I will. But I'll tell them why in that report.
Right.
And I might go, this home has custom features that can only be represented by a home that was built 3 years ago in Big Sky by the same architect.
Yeah.
So I'm going to plug this in as comp 7, and I'm writing this down
Okay.
in a narrative.
Okay. I like it.
In the same way, I think your realtor should when we're coming up with pricing.
Right.
It should be a discussion. It should never, very rarely be.
And the only thing I can do usually better than the typical agent, just because I have to, usually, is I can prove it.
Yeah.
All of it.
Yep.
So if I say, I'm using this comp 3 years ago from the same architect, however, my market increase and decrease has gone up and down, and here's how it's gone, and I'll have a graph of where it's going.
Right.
Whereas an agent may say, or another person may say, well, the same architect did it, they sold it for $2 million, it should be worth $4 million now.
Because the
Well,
market's
and I would
doubled.
say, well, tell me why. And they'll go, well, we just think it's a better market.
Right.
Yeah.
And I said, well,
Okay.
I agree, but I
Yeah.
need to.
But we need to justify.
The underwriter wants to know why.
Right. And that we talked about that a little bit earlier. Sometimes the underwriter will call and say, Jared, tell me more about this story.
Not sometimes, 90% of the time.
So
yeah,
even
so
Jared's
really-
work, even though he has a certification, is still kind of you're up for grading. But the better you do, the more likely you become one of the favorites for that.
I don't know about favorites now. They get used to us. They know how we write and they know who we are in that way. But I've answered today, this morning, they call them revisions, but they request 4 different reports. That's just this morning.
Is that happening more frequently now?
It's just common. If I turn any report in, chances are they're going to go, Jared, will you remark about a well and septic? And these are out-of-state lenders usually. And they go,
Yeah.
if it's a well and septic, do they have a farm? Because they don't understand. It's
Right.
an urban setting. So I answer to
That's
underwriters
why you
every
don't
day.
go with Quicken Banks.
And that was what I was gonna say. Like, you want to work with local lenders because they understand.
Locals very nice.
Our
So again, I'll
market
use
is-
Stockman.
Yeah.
They would never ask me about a well and septic.
Yeah.
Right.
Ever.
Right.
Yeah.
They would never ask me if 20 acres produced income.
But in some of our other previous videos, we've talked about the importance of using a local lender, and I've always understood that it truly is tied to the appraisal process because it makes it more smooth for everybody because
They
everybody
understand the
understands.
property.
They
the market.
understand our community. For security, I mean, I can go through all. First Interstate, all of them are great.
Mhm.
And the credit unions, I can't say enough. Sky Federal and Whitefish is coming. They're great. So
Cool.
anyway, yeah.
Yeah.
I know we're missing something.
Well, so generally speaking, what would be the easiest properties to appraise? And then kind of moving into like the harder ones.
What I'm sorry?
What would be some of the easiest properties to appraise?
Okay.
Like for you to do your appraisal report.
For me, easy is as much as we could get into the quote cookie cutter homes.
Yeah.
And we don't have many, but that would be a home in a subdivision, usually in city limits. That the reason why is I have a ton of data. I have properties I can compare it to, and they're not overbuilt or underbuilt. And usually these are major developers doing it and builders,
Right.
and so they don't want to build over and under. They know that little pocket they need to build in.
Right. So
And
like
so
Harvest Creek being a little bit older, maybe Norton Ranch being a little bit newer,
sure.
Sierra Vista kind of a newer subdivision where they're all where the homes are not all identical, but they're usually built by the same builder that's got a plan in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or some local builders that have the same general idea of what's being built in that area. I
Right.
think we've certainly seen that in Sierra Vista.
Okay. So if that's kind of a straightforward appraisal, let's call it.
Okay.
What might be a little less straightforward?
So that's primarily what I deal with is less straightforward.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I specialize in complex rural
Okay.
and VA. So mine takes me. I've seen everything. I've seen properties with 4 homes on it.
Okay.
I've seen properties with 3 shops. I've seen dry meat lockers. I've seen pools, gymnasiums, basketball courts. You can name it. So all these different weird amenities make it complex.
Right.
Same with acreage. Acreage is difficult.
Like if it's up the side of a mountain,
Yeah.
is it less valuable than if it's
Right.
Flat,
rolly?
developable.
Right. Do views matter?
And views do matter, And the way I do that, though, is again, I have to get that land value out to see what's going on, right? And so I have to determine that land value. So, example, I just did one in Bridger Canyon. I determined 20 acres to be 1.65 million. Yeah, that's for 20 acres.
Yeah, but
So-
Bridger Canyon.
Bridger Canyon.
That doesn't shock
Bridger
me.
Canyon.
Yeah.
So I grabbed that value out, and then we were talking about earlier. I grabbed another 20 acres in Gateway. The Gateway was 1.29, so call it 1.3. That gives me a difference of roughly 300,000, right? So I can make that adjustment. and prove it.
versus 20 acres in Belgrade that would be worth 250,000. No, I don't know.
Or so if you take,
because it's flat. And
well, if you take 20 acres in Belgrade, that's maybe going anywhere from 3.5 to 8.
350,000 to 800,000,
Mhm.
not 3.5 million to 8 million.
Right, right.
Not the same.
But
animal.
you get up and near, off Walker Road and all those great properties. And
is that like Guy Norman area?
Belgrade's got great, and G Norman's good.
Okay.
So anyway, those are the complexities that make it so difficult. And then you have custom homes. I do homes. I just did one the other day that was about 14 million here in Bozeman, and it is just tricked. It's awesome.
Yeah.
There are those around here.
I walk in, and you walk into these homes, and you go, "Wow."
Yeah. That's
Even I'm surprised. I've
that's
seen it.
luxury and custom.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have the questions.
Well, yeah. So, I guess kind of moving on. We've talked about there's a couple different types of appraisals. Right. So you can get a waiver. There could be a desktop appraisal, a drive-by appraisal, a standard appraisal.
Okay.
Talk to us if you can. Maybe it's a better question for a lender, but just why might one of those appraisals be ordered for one property versus another?
You bet. This is a little more lender focused, but I
'Cause they're
have
the
an
ones
idea on them.
Ordering what type?
They
is that
decide
right?
the engagement.
Okay.
And all the engagement means is someone's asking me to do something legally.
Okay.
So I can't do your property until I get accurately engaged.
Right.
So you say, Jared, I want you to do my appraisal. I say, great, that's the engagement.
Right.
So a lender will call me and they'll go, Jared, we want you to do an appraisal on Kathy's house. I go, great, what would you like? What's the scope of work? We want a drive-by appraisal. Okay. And that might be because I'm assuming, and I think I'm right, is that you're a very strong borrower. You don't
putting
need
a lot of money down.
You don't need much money,
right?
Basically to borrow. So they go, we don't want a full appraisal. We want you to drive by the house, see if it's standing. And by the exterior, use your professional judgment that can usually gauge the interior condition, which makes sense. If it's a beautifully landscaped yard, well kept on the exterior, you got to assume the interior consummates that same thing.
Yeah. Okay, that's a good assumption.
Yeah.
Or that's a.
Well, usually on homes it kind of follows each other.
You hope. I hope. I always hope when I see a nice site. Oh, come over and then you get in there and it's like.
A desktop appraisal is more of a newer product. They were trying to streamline these things along just to get speedier appraisals on it and less money. I've only done a couple. I usually don't do them. And because desktops never for a complex rural, which is pretty much what I do.
Yeah, and I would agree. I mean, just even from, I'm going to say pricing homes for the market, I almost will never give you a home price if I haven't seen it. Like, I need to see what's inside of your home and what it actually looks like. Because photos, even if they're MLS photos from a year or two ago, I have no idea what your home, like, to me, the condition and marketability of it is so crucial right now.
Right.
That I just would never price something that I haven't seen.
I feel like in my previous work experience, desktops were kind of more if it was, let's say the property was under 3 years old and this is its first resale. So not brand new construction, because usually that isn't that normally more tied to like cost.
It can be.
Okay, and then, but like, so it's maybe the first sale in a very new subdivision, other comps, so somebody owned the property for a year or two. And so they were relatively confident about the quality of the construction, the condition of the home, and so forth. And again, that happened more in Arizona. I've never had a desktop appraisal here in Bozeman. I don't know if that's a thing here, but it is another. I think that sellers kind of breathe a sigh of relief when they know that this is all happening kind of without somebody coming into their home.
Yeah, perhaps. Perhaps they did a little more in COVID because people didn't want it in their homes.
Right.
We did a lot of drive-bys in COVID.
Yeah.
That type of thing. So those are those two products. I've done both. Not as common. Usually, if someone's going to give you money, if someone's going to loan it to you, they want someone to see the inside.
Yeah.
Usually. The waiver now, this is more of a newer thing. This has been going on a couple of years. And the waiver, I believe, and I bet you lenders are like, no, Jared, that's not it. But I think is for stronger borrowers. And also it's for more non-complex properties that AVM, automated valuation model, is able to help these lenders determine value. So if you were in Sacramento and you were in a subdivision with 3,000 homes and they were roughly the same.
Right.
And it's a non-disclosure there. So let's say house A sold for 100,000, you can assume that the house C, when they want a loan on it, is close to 100,000.
Right.
That's what an AVM is.
Right.
And this appraisal waiver, I believe, if you have a strong borrower and the lender can attain value through some other method than an appraisal, it's quicker, it's cheaper, and they hold the liability.
Right.
They being the lender.
Do they? I've never heard of. I can't think of. Like VA would never do that.
Never.
Because it's a VA loan is generally the borrower has the opportunity to borrow 100% of the value of the home.
Mm-hmm.
So and most VA borrowers take advantage of that. So there's a whole lot more. And I guess to go further down
Risk.
this, right? There's a whole lot more risk to
for
the bank,
lender.
and the bank in a VA case is the government. So, but curious, is a VA appraisal more stringent than a conventional loan?
Okay, you bet. Let me jump back. I'll answer that for a second.
Yep.
But real quick, just so everyone knows, an appraisal on a refinance, on a purchase, on a HELOC, on anything, just market value appraisal is all the same.
That was my next question, because I've heard
It doesn't matter if you go, Jared, I want you to appraise this, but it's a purchase. I don't care. I want to appraise this as refi. I don't care. It's the same value. Now, there are different ways we can do it. You could say, well, I want a liquidation appraisal. Well, that's different. Now I can say your property's worth this in 30 days.
And that's like, if for some reason, like maybe a write-off kind
a
of thing.
Date of death.
Okay.
Or
Yeah.
something like that. I could do an estate or date of death appraisal. That's a retrospective.
Okay.
That's where I do it in the past. But a lot of people think, oh, well, it's a refi appraisal. I wish it was a purchase appraisal. No. It's the same thing. Doesn't matter. Same value.
Any kind of purchase.
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
Yep. So just so we have to make sure that.
I believe you.
Yeah.
I believe you. I do.
Yeah.
Mostly.
Yeah. So now let's jump to these type of
specific purchases.
Right. So if it's a VA government loans, that's all we're talking about. So government loan appraisals are different than conventional in that they have their own set of standards, and the government does. For example, prior 1976, your paint cannot be chipping.
Right.
It's a major one
Mm-hmm.
because it has lead base or could.
Right.
And they don't want kids eating or people eating the lead based paint chips.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'll see a lead-based paint disclosure if
Yes.
you're
Right.
purchasing a home.
So if I go and I see chipping paint prior 1976 on a home, it has to be mitigated before the government loan, FHA, VA, RD, will loan on it.
Right.
That's one example. Hand railings, huge. Any safety concern with the home. And the whole, the way I look at that is if a toddler can fall or hurt themselves off anything, it needs to be remedied.
Heat.
Sorry?
Heat, you test to make sure that
Everything has to be tested. All the function of HVAC has to be tested if there is HVAC. Heat
Water.
sources has to be in a dependable heat source. Solar still, there's other things we can go into different routes,
Right.
but government appraisals and requests are specific, different than conventional.
Now, do you have the right or the option to request repairs? I mean, like, because so you go to a home and it's you're doing a VA appraisal and you turn on the heat and it only warms to like 65.
Mm-hmm.
You know, do you have the right to say this needs to be repaired prior to purchase? Is that you, or is that the bank, or is that
Kind of in the both, because I have the right on my reports to report.
okay?
All I'm doing is reporting.
And so I think I've actually run across that where you get, I want to say, like conditional approval, meaning you're approved assuming these conditions get met. And some of those conditions, I mean, we've installed handrails before for a FHA loan.
Right.
It was a property out in Gallatin Gateway, Gallatin Canyon, and it was a funky little property. And I know, when Mark, he was like, I don't know how this is going to work with FHA. He was pretty concerned about it because there were a number of things that his eyes are going to him. And sure enough, we did have to have some handrails installed to get that loan to close.
So my job is to go in and I go, okay, there's chipping paint, it needs handrails, the heat doesn't go the way it should. The electrical box looks like it's funky. There's a smell. There's dampness. Odors are big. The water pressure's not right. The electrical outlets aren't covered. There's broken wires. There's exposed wires. There's light fixtures that are hanging. And I can keep going, there's cracks in the foundation. The drainage looks off. So I can list these things and I'll report them.
And those are specific to government-backed loans.
Most. Conventional has some too, but most. And so I'll write that in my report and I'll say the property has A, B, C, D, E, F, G. I'm reporting that, but I'm not going, this needs to be repaired.
Yeah.
I'm saying per FHA guidelines or VA, these items need consideration and might need to be inspected by a professional plumber, electrician, roofing contractor,
Right.
as I'm none of those.
Okay, so now, to be clear, that is his job as an appraiser when appraising for a government-backed loan. Okay, that is not the same job that a home inspector does. While they sound a lot the same, they're not the same.
They're very different.
So, right.
Great call.
Okay.
A lot of people think we're the same.
Not the same.
Not the same at all. Not even close.
You tell
And the
them,
biggest
not the
difference here, so I'll go into a property and on a typical home, I'll spend a half hour on my inspection. Okay. And I'll measure the outside, I'll look through the property, I'll make my notes, and I'll look around. And a lot of people may think that's hardly any time, and it is not much time. You know, some appraisers may be in there 45 minutes, maybe an hour, depending on the home. An inspector will go in and they'll spend, they might have some inspectors yelling at me, but
4 hours.
4 hours.
I'm guessing, well, I was going to guess 3 to 6
Yeah.
Depending
hours.
on the size of the
Yeah.
home.
The difference with this is they're looking for the functionality of the home.
Mm-hmm.
And they're looking at everything from a drawer handle not working to the dampness and everything that I just mentioned, to all electrical work, to everything like that. The toilet not flushing correctly, anything like that. They're not looking at marketability. They have nothing to do with the market. They have nothing to do with the site value. They have nothing to do with quality level. They
Yeah.
could care less. They want to see how it works, what's the function, are there any deficiencies.
Yeah. And keep in mind the reason too, you have two, is because oftentimes for that home inspection, we don't want to send all of this stuff that's wrong with the house to your lender, right? Like that's
Never.
a pretty big thing that can come up. So again, there's a reason
It's a
we've
big
got
file.
forms that we're working with to help people understand it. But that being said, the lender does still need to have an understanding of what they're loaning on. It's not maybe quite as in-depth or detailed as a home inspection, but both are still incredibly valuable and necessary to get a loan closed.
I would say, well, so they'll go in there for a home inspector will go 3 to 6 hours, and that is their report. They're actually doing it as they're on the site.
Mhm.
We go in for a half hour, and then ours is around
Yes.
32 pages. We write it after.
Right.
So it takes me a day to write one, and then a half hour to inspect one.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think one big thing to remember here is that what Jared said is that when he goes, he's looking for health and safety issues as they relate to what the special circumstances are for a government loan in most
Requirements,
cases.
sure.
Right. Requirements. Okay. Thank you. Sometimes my words just don't happen. But so health and safety versus an inspector is health, safety, aesthetic,
Functionality.
wear and tear, blah, 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 which doesn't necessarily, it doesn't look the same on Jared's report. You might note condition, which is another word for wear and tear, but that might have less of an effect than somebody who sees that wear and tear on an inspector's report, not an appraiser's report, sees it on the inspector's report and says, hey, this property's kind of dilapidated. Those are two different things.
Two different things.
Yeah. So, okay, just to be clear on that.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
because
important.
I think a lot of sellers think, well, we just had that inspection. Why does the appraiser have to turn on the water and turn on, and why are they looking in the crawl space and all that kind of stuff? Well, because it's still important to help determine the value of the property.
An appraiser is the eyes of the lender.
Yeah.
An inspector's not.
Yeah.
Lenders
Inspectors
aren't
are
hiring inspectors.
Right.
It's the seller or the buyer, usually the buyer.
Yeah.
But or an agent, but it's not the lender. They're not requiring an inspection.
Right.
They require me.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm
Just one more question. I think we're kind of getting up there
Okay.
in time, unless, of course, if there's anything you want to add at the end. But is there anything that you would love to see from agents or from sellers when you're at a property? You know, I kind of always understood you kind of want to keep somewhat of a veil between, because there are some, I don't want to say boundaries, but a little bit, you're there to do your job, kind of stay out of the way. But is there anything that you would like to see, again, from a seller or from a listing agent to help the appraisal process?
To help the process. As far as the seller goes, no. I feel like a lot of times sellers and buyers get too involved in this process, and it's a difficult one. It's almost like me getting involved in your taxes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that entails, nor do I want to know. And it's complex, and I don't know the whole background and what and how. And a lot of sellers and buyers like to get so involved in this transaction because it's a big one, and I understand. Mm-hmm. It's almost better, I feel like, to just let that person do their job, get it done. And if there's certainly they can be involved a little bit, but there's a point where it overflows.
Mm-hmm.
And probably likewise with agents. Agents and appraisers should have a great relationship. And back in the day, it was great because we could talk all the time, and we still can talk. It's just we can't talk about value, but we can talk. I guess to close that on the agent behalf, it is good that we talk, and I feel like appraisers, if there's an issue, I've talked to 4 agents today.
Because when you say there's an issue, meaning you're not finding the value that...
No, not necessarily. There's comps. I always have, I go, well, how did you price this? Mm-hmm. Tell me how. Tell me what you did. Am I missing something? And oftentimes I am. I'm thrilled that I am missing it. For example, today, I was doing a townhome, and the values, these comps were low to me, that they were right by it. And instead of just using them, which a lot of appraisers do, I called this agent, and she goes, no, this buyer bought 3 of them and got a discounted price.
Got it.
Oh, so yeah. Important.
Yeah.
So now that says to me, well, okay, so now we have to increase on my adjustments. That brings it up. Now it all coincides. Now it fits.
Perfect. Personally, I love it when an appraiser calls me, because I feel like, yes, then they are part of the market, right? Versus... Go ahead.
Well, and something, I mean, on a townhome, I had a townhome listed, and, it kind of sat there, and then I'm going to say around, 90 days on market, I ended up having multiple offers. And so we were right at our asking price. And I had an appraisal call. This was before we were through inspection, but the home hadn't closed, so they could not see what our sold price was, but I had an appraiser call me, and they just asked, they're like, how close are you to your asking price? Because I'm looking at, doing an appraisal for another one. And I said, well, I had multiple offers, so we were very close. And so again, it was really nice to have that interaction and just have people, understanding that, of course, I'm going to say the raw data and raw materials, again, your location, your lot size, your build quality, all of those things matter. But of course, the market does also play a piece in real estate, in that our market's still relatively small. So maybe there is one property that hits for 5 different buyers. So you end up with multiple buyers or something like that. And so great when appraisers will factor that in as well.
So do you look at days on market as a factor?
I do. I'm curious about it, and then I look at price drops a lot too.
Ooh, interesting.
I'm myself. It's not a pet peeve, I wouldn't say. It's more of a, I don't understand a lot when agents list at certain prices and there's huge price drops.
Right.
And I kind of do, because I know it's often you want to get clientele, and sellers and buyers, and this is another thing, sellers and buyers, it's extremely difficult to price your own home. Even for me, it's so hard to price your own home because emotion gets involved, and this is an emotional business. It is, and homes are emotional. So a lot of times sellers love to go, well, it's worth this. And I often come in on a FSBO, for sale by owner, and I'll go, well, how is that derived? And they go, we just think that's what it's worth.
We love it here.
Yeah.
And I go, well, why not, instead of 900,000, why not 2 million? Well, they go, well, that's too much. What about $1 million? That's only $100,000 more.
Yeah.
So you have to have a methodology to it. But I guess what I'm saying is it's an emotional, this behavior of this whole business is emotional. So you have to get the story from everybody. And so getting it from agents, I ask nonstop, how was this made? How was this done? If I don't understand, I'll ask. A lot of times I feel like I'm right and they're wrong, and a lot vice versa. I learn some all the time. So
yeah.
Yep.
It truly is collaborative. I think even agents, when we're pricing something, I know I'm frequently popping my head into Bert's office and being like, hey, here's where I'm at, but talk me through anything I might be missing.
And a lot of agents have a great grasp on this, this up and down, and a lot of them will say, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Which is great. I don't mind that, because a lot of times you don't know, because it is such an emotional business, and you go, I just felt like it should be this.
Well, and there's so much weird. I asked about days on market because there is a lot of seasonality here, but not like you would expect. Like in July, which would be selling season in any other part of the country, July kind of goes like crickets around here because everybody's vacationing
It's
or
too
enjoying,
nice out.
right? And so like if you list a home, mid-June and it doesn't sell in the first 2 weeks, it's likely not going to sell until middle of August potentially. And that doesn't really reflect that nobody liked this home. It was nobody was looking to buy. And so that days on market can get really different than anywhere else I've done this business.
Yeah.
Like it's
well,
very
now
strange.
with our political structure right now, I mean, that's completely congruent with that. So now we're at war, and so now who knows what's going to do. Rates I know are up a little bit. I think last I heard they're up, right?
Yeah.
And so, but if this keeps going, then the reserve's going to kick in, then rates are going to drop,
right.
Days of market will go, and so
new reserve
it's
chair.
It's consistently on, and I'll even write that in reports. I'll go, well, we're at COVID in an artificial market.
Right.
Yeah.
It's risen prices to this artificial point, and then we dropped, and so they go, was it a decline? Well, not really, because now we're out of a pandemic. Now it's more normalcy.
Right.
So
it feels like
trying to play
dropped.
those games, and trying to play those games.
Well, I don't think your job is. I mean, Kaila and I can list a home, and if it doesn't sell in 2 weeks, we can lower the price, right? If that's the goal of the seller, is to get it done quickly. Now, you, on the other hand, you're not necessarily trying to predict the market, but trying to, okay, so these artificial prices, how long are we going to hang on to this? How long is this? And your job depends on creating consistent, good appraisals, right? Like, so, and you can't just change your appraisal.
Right. You can't.
Like, we can lower the price.
No.
Or, so that is kind of and that's why his opinion matters more than ours.
Well, anyway, I don't know if I necessarily that, but all it is, it comes down to this.
Yeah, to the money.
Appraisers are either heroes or villains. Yeah. It's simple as that. And a lot of people think that a good appraiser is one that always comes in because they always hit value. And I have agents that probably despise me, and I have some that like me, but maybe that when they like me, I come in under, and then they don't like me. So it's just, it's a turbulent profession. Yeah. But it's fine. I feel blessed to have it.
Doing it for 27 years, right?
I started training it took me 8 years ago, undergrad. I started training in 27 years ago.
I mean, so you've been involved for 27 years.
Yeah.
You're clearly doing something right in the Valley because, I mean, I certainly know your name and.
Well, they haven't kicked me
I've
out
worked
yet.
with you. Yeah. But that to me is why we talk about a lot in our videos. Experience matters so much. You cannot just replace experience in anybody in this profession, I think, and especially for our area because we do have such unique properties.
Yeah.
Even on the not so unique ones. It's not as easy as it might appear. So I think
it can get hard.
I think it really, really is so important to be working with lenders, realtors, and appraisers.
We're a team
who really get the full thing done.
That's why they say, when real estate is booming, the whole economy is booming because it employs so many different people in the buying and selling of homes, right? Or if you're upgrading your home, or anyway. Do you have anything else you'd like to add? Some little tidbit.
So. For all agents out there, feel free to call me or call appraisers. Call us.
Great.
Talk to us all the time. Just don't say hit a value. You can talk all the time about anything. I get calls all the time.
Awesome.
I don't mind. And that's what you should do. It should be.
Who's your hairdresser? Just kidding.
Who's your hairstylist?
Right. Well, we appreciate you coming and spending so much time with us. And obviously, totally invaluable information, both for our sellers and our buyers and for us as agents. And we are very, very grateful.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jared.
Thank you.